The 2024 NBA draft is just a couple days away, and I'm going to be doing my personal mock draft on what I think these GMs should be doing for the lottery, which is just 1 through 14. If I were to do all 30 first round players, it would have been a very long video, and the draft is just a couple days away. I got to get this out as soon as possible. So let's get this started. And just a quick reminder, this is not very much so a prediction, but what I think these GMs should be doing. So at number 1, the Atlanta Hawks, I have them going Alex Sarr, even though there have been reports about Alex Sarr apparently not even wanting to work out with them, and apparently he prefers the Wizards over the Atlanta Hawks. And if Atlanta does lose out on Sarr in this draft, I think it'll be a huge disappointment to all Hawks fans, because I think Sarr has major upside. Of course, defensively, we all know he has the frame and the body to be a great defender in this league, and he's already been a great defender overseas and when he plays the G League and everything. But offensively as well, he doesn't have it yet, but you can see the fluidity on that side of the court and a jump shot that's not terrible looking. So later on down the line, if he's able to get a jump shot and a more fluid offense where he can fit in today's style of game, he already has the defense. So that is just sky's the limit for Alex Sarr if he goes down the road and reaches his full potential. I can see him being like a Jaren Jackson Jr. type player or something. And if you are Atlanta and you want to start a rebuild, or even just pair Trae Young up with a future star, I think Alex Sarr is easily the best option over someone like Zachary Reese-Shea. If the Hawks do decide to keep Trae Young and DeJounte Murray, or maybe just move DeJounte and keep Trae Young, I think this would be a perfect spot for a guy like Sarr who can play off of a guy like Trae Young, who of course sucks in all the defense. Alex Sarr would have free reign offensively because the defenses won't be as focused onto him as compared to a Wizards team that doesn't have as much talent around him. But apparently Alex Sarr doesn't want to go there, and if he doesn't want to go there, I'm not sure Atlanta is also going to pick him because they haven't even seen him in workouts yet. But if I were to be the GM in a perfect situation, I do think Alex Sarr would go number 1. Now going to number 2, which is the Washington Wizards, I have them getting Zachary Reese-Shea, a forward who is 6'9" and 19 years old, again out of France. And yes, I do have him going here, but in the real draft, if they do get Alex Sarr, if Alex Sarr does fall to them at 2, I think that is a dream scenario. I just don't see it happening. I think Alex Sarr's potential is way too high for the Hawks to pass on, even if he doesn't want to go there. That happened with Evan Mobley a couple years back where he didn't want to go to the Cavs. The Cavs still drafted him, and look at where he's at now. I don't think the Hawks let that completely change their mind on who they're picking, but if he does fall to Washington, that'll be incredible. But I do have Reese-Shea going to the Washington Wizards in this scenario. Zachary Reese-Shea is a very good plug and play type of player, but I don't see his ceiling being that high, especially as high as some other guys out here in this draft. But Zachary Reese-Shea, I think, is a more safer pick for the Washington Wizards. But I will say, if Nikola Topic was healthy going into this draft and didn't have this pretty steep injury history already, I would easily go Nikola Topic here. I've been having him mocked there for the whole entire season until he was getting injured a ton. I just think a good point guard would be perfect for the Washington Wizards here, especially with Tyus Jones going into free agency this offseason. But I think Reese-Shea is just the best available right here and the safer pick as well. And he's just pretty decent at everything. Defensively, he has the frame and the speed to keep up with like a 2 through 4 maybe. And the shooting ability can be inconsistent, but with time, he has a good jump shot already. He moves well off the ball. I think he can be a pretty good plug and play player and a very good role player later down the line. Now number 3 is the Houston Rockets. This is a very common pick I've been seeing all around. I think it is a perfect spot. I have Reed Shepherd going here at Houston, a guard, 6'1", 19 years old, but does turn 20 on the 24th, just 2 days before the NBA draft. But I think Reed Shepherd is one of the more perfect fits for a team in the lottery. He is a smaller guard, but he definitely does hold his own defensively, and also just a very good connector piece, and he won't get in the way of guys' development like Sengun or Jalen Green or Cam Whitmore or Amen Thompson. He's just kind of a guy who can do it all. He doesn't force his way into offenses. He just kind of lets the game come to him. He can shoot incredible. He shot over 50% from 3 in college, which is crazy. Obviously, I don't think that would translate fully to the NBA, but of course he has a great jump shot. It looks incredible. A low-key very good athlete, had a 42-inch vertical at the NBA Combine this year, and he just looks like a perfect piece for this Houston Rockets team with Van Vliet, who's not getting any younger, and Reed Sheppard can definitely run that point guard role or facilitator role out there. So if they do ever move on from Van Vliet later down the line, I think Reed Sheppard could take over that point guard spot. He just gives the Houston Rockets a lot of options offensively, where they can just kind of put him anywhere or let him be the lead ball handler for the bench unit or something. And I do think he can help them win now, which they obviously want to at least make a playoff push next season. Next up, at number 4, I have the San Antonio Spurs picking up Stephon Castle, the guard that's 6'7", 19 years old. He can definitely play some forward or maybe shooting guard a little bit. And going into the NBA draft, Castle and his camp were telling teams that he didn't really want to go to other teams that had franchise point guards already. I'm guessing that was mostly directed at teams like Detroit, Charlotte, and maybe even Portland with Scoot Henderson. So I'm guessing teams won't be drafting him, but also I can see a team like Charlotte wanting to pick Stephon Castle up because he can definitely play forward and he's a very, very good defender. But San Antonio definitely does need a guard. That was one of their bigger problems all season long. So they get Stephon Castle here. And with San Antonio having a below average defense last year, if they get a good perimeter defender here to pair alongside Wemby's incredible interior defense, I think that's a step in the right direction for the Spurs. And also, he can facilitate a little bit. He played point guard in college from what I've heard. Now, is he a great point guard? I've heard that's not really the case, but he is a very, very good defender, if not the best perimeter defender in this entire class. And at his 6'7" frame, he has versatility out on the court on how you can play him. The worries for him are definitely his offensive ability. He definitely is not the greatest shooter in this draft, not even really close to it. He definitely needs to work on that offensive game, but if he can get a decent jump shot down, he doesn't have to be shooting 40% from 3, but if he can get like 35% from 3, that is one of the best two-way guards in the league, of course later down the line. But the defensive upside would be incredible for San Antonio to have. They need some defense, and shooting comes along in this league. A lot of guys are shooters, and I guarantee you can say the same thing about a lot of guys in this draft where they need to work on their shot. They're not the best three-point shooters. You can say that about a lot of guys in this draft. Stephon Castle is one of them, but the thing Stephon Castle has is that incredible defensive upside. Now, Detroit at number 5, I have them picking Matas Buzelis. I think Matas is actually one of the best players in this draft easily. I think he honestly has potential to be the best player in this draft. He is that good and that versatile. He's a 6'10" forward, only 19 years old, and he has the ceiling to be a really, really good defender and an incredible offensive player. Matas before last season shot 45% from 3 in high school, which is insane at his build. He is a 6'10" forward shooting 45% for 3. Now that is high school, but that does show he has the jump shot to shoot well in the NBA. And if he does figure that shot out for Detroit, that is an incredible pairing with him alongside Cade and Asar Thompson. Matas at his 6'10" frame has all the tools to be a great defender and has shown flashes of that in the G League and in high school. He can play off ball a decent amount, which is exactly what you need on a Cade Cunningham led team. And if he can just get a consistent jump shot down like he did in high school, he will be an incredible fit for Detroit. His shot also looks very good. He's a very good athlete. Off-ball player, like I said, he's pretty solid. I just think he does a lot of good stuff on the court. He might not be incredible at anything yet, but he has the tools to be like really good at mostly everything. His only real downside I've seen is like his playmaking a little bit, but you don't really need that if you're playing alongside Asar Thompson and Cade Cunningham. Now at number 8, I have the Charlotte Hornets picking one of, if not the biggest boom or bust players in this entire draft, Ron Holland, the forward that is 6'8", only 18 years old, and is one of the most probably polarizing players in this draft, where some people think he's going to be one of the best players in the draft and some people don't really buy into his game. He has incredible athleticism, really, really good defender, especially for Charlotte who needs some good defense. They got one if they get Ron Holland here. Offensive potential is very high as well, and like I said, incredible athlete with really good finishing ability, and also just the ability to get to the rim is very well. But his jump shot is just really not that great, and it also doesn't look that good either. But if he is able to get that jump shot down, he's only 18 years old, like I said. He has plenty of time to develop. He has the potential to be maybe the best player in this draft as well. His handling ability is pretty decent as well, but another knock on his game is he does turn the ball over a ton and is also not the best passer. But if he's on the team with LaMelo Ball for this foreseeable future, I don't think his playmaking is going to be one of the biggest needs for Charlotte. And he's very young, just like this Charlotte team, so they all have plenty of time to develop with each other. And with two guys in Charlotte that you got with LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller, who LaMelo's already made an all-star team, Brandon Miller might make one next year or the year after. I think you might as well take a shot on a guy like Ron Holland, who at the very least will be a very good defender in this league. Now at number 7, I have the Portland Trailblazers taking Cody Williams, the forward, 6'8", 19 years old. I don't think they need any more guards on that team. Even if Malcolm Brogdon is traded or whatever, I still don't think they need any more guards in this draft. So I'm giving him Cody Williams, the 6'8" forward. He is definitely a project play, but he has all the tools to be great in this league. He has the tools to be a great defender with this 6'8" frame and a 7'3" wingspan, which is crazy. He has quick speed, which could eventually get to a spot where he's guarding like the 1 through 4. His offensive game is decent enough, but you don't really need him to be incredible offensively off the rip. You want him to at least show defensive upside, and the offense I think will come with time. His jump shot looks good enough. One of like my biggest gripes with Cody Williams' game, and you saw that really towards the end of last season, is he just doesn't look as comfortable as you want him to look with the ball in his hands. I don't know if that's a confidence thing, but at times it just doesn't look like he's the greatest with the ball in his hands, putting the ball on the floor, trying to get his own shot. At times it didn't look very good, but in the NBA, especially if he's on the Blazers where you're going to have Scoot Henderson with the ball most of the time, or Anthony Simons or Shaedon Sharpe, I think Cody Williams has a lot of room to develop on that team. And I think the Blazers might as well take a shot on a guy like Cody Williams, who's a big forward with very good defensive upside. Now at number 8, the San Antonio Spurs have their second pick of the lottery. I have them picking Rob Dillingham here, doubling up on guards. This guy though, 6'1", 19 years old, a very small point guard, and a guy that I've been seeing drop in a lot of mock drafts I've seen, and it's mostly due to his small frame and his very low defensive ability. Now you might be asking why I have the Spurs doubling up on guards, and for me, as a Spurs fan myself, I really just look at it as Stephon Castle and Rob Dillingham, kind of just seeing which one of those guys is going to be the point guard for the foreseeable future. And I think Rob Dillingham, if he doesn't get that point guard spot, if Stephon Castle turns out to be the better playmaker than Rob Dillingham, I think Rob Dillingham is still a great off the bench scorer and could still run a second unit very well in the NBA. Now off rip, I think Stephon Castle and Rob Dillingham can still play with each other. I think Rob Dillingham can still play off the ball a decent amount. He shoots the ball very well. He might be a top 3 shooter in this draft. He has a great looking jump shot, very fast as well. And his offensive game is incredible. He might have the highest ceiling of offensive game in this entire draft. He's very fast, he can shoot the ball very well. His playmaking is pretty decent, but it's not incredible. He can finish and get to the rim very well. He has a mid-range shot. Rob Dillingham on offense is the entire package that you want out of a point guard, but it's just his defensive ability is very low, and I don't really think it's his fault fully. I think he gives effort a decent amount. It's really just his very, very small frame out there. But for the Spurs, I had them picking Stephon Castle out there. So if you're Rob Dillingham, you're not going to have to guard the team's best point guards out there. You're going to give that priority to Stephon Castle easily, and you'll just put Rob Dillingham on somebody else. And also you have Victor Wembanyama in the front court waiting for whoever might blow past him. I think his offensive upside is way too high to pass on. I don't think he falls even past 10, honestly. And you're basically getting the best of both worlds drafting these two guards. You're getting a great offensive player with Rob Dillingham, who might end up being the best offensive guard in this entire draft, but you're also getting Stephon Castle at 4, who could be the best defensive guard in this entire draft, and if he does get a jump shot, he can be one of the best two-way guards in the entire league. Now at number 9, I have the Memphis Grizzlies rejoicing on the fact that they are able to get Donovan Clingan at number 9, the center who is 7'1", 20 years old, and Donovan Clingan falling to number 9 is incredible for Memphis. I'm seeing Clingan go as far as 1 in some mock drafts. I'm not going to go that far, But Klingon at number 9 I have for the Grizzlies. This is great value. He's still young at 20 years old, but I think he can make immediate impact to this team. The Grizzlies are obviously in win now mode with John Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr., Desmond Bane, and now I have them getting Klingon. I think Klingon is a pretty much like do-it-all big, except for that jump shot. Apparently he's working on it a ton. I don't know if I buy into it completely, but of course he's still only 20 years old. If he does have that work ethic where he's already trying to improve that jumper going into the NBA, I have pretty high hopes he can eventually get to being a decent three-point shooting big. But everything else though, he is an efficient scorer and a very decent passer for his size, and an incredible rim protector, and a guy that I think can fit in very well on a team that already has pretty decent spacing, especially in the front court with a guy like Jaren Jackson Jr. who can already stretch the floor, which allows Donovan Klingon to work if the Grizzlies ever want to, let him go to work in the post or something. He's a very good rebounder, good in the pick and roll, so you can run a guy like John Morant and him in the pick and roll. That seems like a very deadly duo, especially with Klingon's very decent playmaking ability. And like I said, his only real weakness is his jumper, but I think the jump shot looks decent enough to where in time, I think it can still be a decent jumper. He just needs to develop it, and we'll just have to wait and see. But at number 9, I think that's great value for Memphis. So at number 10, I have the Utah Jazz getting Nikola Topic, the guard who is 6'5" and only 18 years old. Nikola Topic has fallen a ton. I had him as high as 2 in some of my mock drafts before this one, but Nikola Topic has already had 2 pretty big injuries, the last one being the biggest with a torn ACL or a partially torn ACL. Probably have him out for most of his rookie season, if not all his rookie season. And a team like the Utah Jazz, they aren't really looking to win right away with any of these guys. So I think they take a shot on a guy like Nikola Topic, who might miss his rookie season, but still has very high potential. And with what I'm seeing from the Utah Jazz, they're looking like they want to trade Lauri Markkanen. I've even seen them want to trade Walker Kessler, that came out of nowhere. So in my eyes, it is looking like they might want to be tanking for Cooper Flag next year. I think OKC has their pick next year, but it is, I think, top 10 protected. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I do think the Utah Jazz might be doing a secret tank job right now, trying to get rid of Lauri, maybe even Walker Kessler for some picks and younger guys. So I think why not take Nikola Topic, kind of have him like a draft and stash type of guy. Have him sit out his rookie season, or not his rookie season, but his first year in the league, and then have his rookie season, his second year on the team, and him fully recovered, and maybe even Cooper Flag on the roster. Now, Nikola Topic as a basketball player is a big guard with defensive upside, and of course his playmaking is very, very good, and he drives to the rim very good as well, pretty good finisher. His only real problem with his game is his shooting ability, but the jumper still looks good enough. And if he just, like most of these guys in the draft, they can just develop a jump shot, they'll be a very good role player or even borderline an all-star. And like I said, this is just great value for the Utah Jazz. If they're able to get Nikola Topic following the 10, I think that is just great value. This guy, Nikola Topic, could be like a prototype point guard of the future who's just a big guard who can play make, defend, and hopefully for him get a jump shot later on. At number 11, the Chicago Bulls, I have him taking Tidjane Salaün, the forward who is 6'9", 18 years old. Now this guy is definitely a project play, but seeing the Alex Caruso for Giddey trade just the other day, I'm hoping that this is a sign for the Bulls going into full rebuild at some point, with rumors of them wanting to trade Lonzo, Levine, and hopefully finally hit a full reset with trading guys like DeMar DeRozan and Nikola Vucevic and stuff. I hope they hit the full reset and get a guy like Tidjane Salaün who can just go out there, play basketball without having to worry about winning or losing games. And Salaün, like I said, is a project play and has a lot of work to do, but he's only 18 years old and he's a great athlete and a very explosive athlete as well, with really good finishing ability. He has a pretty decent three-point shot as well. He's just kind of a do-it-all type of forward, but he just needs to work on his consistent play and getting like really good at all this stuff, but he's just pretty decent at a lot of stuff. He's also a pretty decent defender as well, with great length and versatility. Probably probably being able to guard multiple positions once he actually gets into the league, and also probably play multiple positions as well. Now the Oklahoma City Thunder at 12, I have them getting an absolute steal and someone that would be insane for them to get. I have them getting Devin Carter, the guard, who is 6'3", 22 years old, one of the older players this high in this draft. They just got Alex Cruz, so I know who's another guard, but if you look at their backcourt off the bench, it's not as deep as you probably think. They have, of course, Case and Wallace, but if you want a guy that'll initiate an offense or a second unit, Devin Carter is that guy. The only reason why teams like the Spurs, Hornets, or whatever team up there in the high in the draft, Washington even, really the only reason why I can see them passing up on Devin Carter is his 22-year-old age, which is pretty old for a rookie, but this guy is still really good. Like, he is a win now player. He can come in for OKC and immediately run that second unit. He's really good at mostly everything. He has the ability to play alongside Shea or off the ball, and honestly, I can see Devin Carter coming out the gates being one of the best guards in their rookie seasons. Maybe won't finish their career one of the better players out this draft, but I think Devin Carter can come in the rookie season, be one of the best players out this draft. He's a very good shooter and a really good scorer overall, and a great defender for his a little bit smaller of a frame. A pretty good passer as well, a very good rebounding guard. I think he had I think he was averaging near 9 rebounds per game in college as a point guard. And one thing that I've seen a ton from Devin Carter is he has a high motor. Like, he is giving 100% of his effort 100% of the time. And also, from what I've heard, is Devin Carter is playing incredible in the private workouts with teams, which is also making me think that this might be a little too low for Devin Carter. But I think his age does play a factor for a lot of these rebuilding teams. But a team like OKC, who still wants to compete for championships, Devin Carter can come in and impact winning right away. Now at 13, I have the Sacramento Kings picking Dalton Connect, a forward, 6'6", 23 years old. Again, one of the more older rookies in this draft. As you see, the older rookies are kind of falling a little bit. Even though they might be more talented than some of the guys above them right now, I don't think they will finish as talented or as polished as some of the guys above them. But Sacramento gets Dalton Connect, one of the best shooters in this draft, one of the best all-around scorers in this draft. He's definitely more polished than the guys above him, which is why I see Sacramento getting a guy like Dalton Connect can come in right away and impact their winning and help the Kings get back into the playoffs, because he's not a guy that needs the ball in his hands to succeed. He can play off guys like Domantas Sabonis or De'Aaron Fox or something. He can definitely just be an off-ball player, but at times he can handle the ball if you want him to. And also, coming into Sacramento, he will have a clear-cut role. He's not going to be, the lead initiator for any offenses or anything. He'll be a shooter and an all-around scorer. Now, he's not going to come in and defend the best player or whatever. He's definitely not the greatest defender or passer. But in his role for Sacramento, if he's were to go there, you're not going to be really asking him to play make or really defend that much. You just want him to score a ton, and he can definitely do that for Sacktown. Now, Portland at number 14, their second pick of the lottery, also the last pick of the lottery. I have them maybe reaching a little bit. This might be a little rich for where they are getting drafted. I have them picking Kel'el Ware, the center, 7'1", I think, 20 years old. I know they have DeAndre Ayton on the roster and Robert Williams on the roster, but when you look at their front court play with those two bigs, you're not really looking at them and saying they're the future bigs for this team. A guy like Scoot Henderson needs a good big man alongside him, and Kel'el Ware, I think, can come in and be a very impactful player, and he can be a very decent lob threat for Scoot Henderson, and maybe the big man for the future for this Portland team. Ware is a very good athlete, and like I said, can be a lob threat for Scoot Henderson and can dunk the ball very well. But he's also a pretty versatile offensive player, shooting 42% from 3 last year in college. He's a great defender as well, a guy that can just completely change the dynamic of a game with his defense, very decent shot blocker, and even shown flashes of playmaking. He can open up the floor for a guy like Scoot Henderson, which mostly does his work in the paint, if he can continue to shoot the ball very well. Also locking down the paint with his very good interior defense. Now, he isn't the most switchable big, so he's not going to be out there trying to keep up with guards or anything. That's not his game, but I don't think that should detour Portland from picking him. I think he is going to be a very good big man in this league, and I've even seen some people go as saying his ceiling might be like some DPOY type stuff. Now, I have seen some reports about Kel'el Ware not having apparently the best motor and maybe not the best drive for the game, but we won't really know until he's in the league for sure if that's true or not. But I think Kel'el Ware it's worth taking a shot on. Why not with your second pick in the lottery? And Portland walks away with 2 non-guards in this lottery, which I think is a very big W for them. They don't need to force themselves into stacking up their guard position more than they already have. Some guys that fell out the lottery in this mock draft, which I still think are lottery talents, guys like Jared McCain, Isaiah Collier, even maybe Jacoby Walter, all these guys fall out my lottery, but I think are very good talents still, and whoever gets them, I think is going to be a steal down the line. So anyways, that was easily one of my longest recording sessions I've had. But with the NBA draft just around the corner, and I've been doing a little bit of research on these guys, I think I wanted to jump into the draft and future prospects, and it's also fun to look back on years down the line, or even just a couple months down the line, to see if my predictions are aging well or aging poorly. Most of these are probably going to age bad. This is obviously hard to predict, especially if you're predicting how good these players are going to be. But that is a wrap for this recording session about my NBA mock draft on what I think these GMs should be doing come draft night on the 26th. I will be posting my reaction to the draft as soon as it happens of the first round. So if you want to see that, hit the subscribe button down below, notification bell so you can be notified as soon as I upload, and hit the like button down below if you enjoyed this video. This video is going to take a long time to edit, but I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Peace out.